Hi, I'm Ellen Shimberg. Welcome to What's in the Pantry, Disability Pride Pennsylvania's cooking show featuring cooks with disabilities all around our region. We're excited to bring to you a variety of cooking shows with recipes that you're going to find simple and easy to prepare with items that you're going to find in your pantry. All of our cooks have disabilities, and they're going to show you how they navigate in the kitchen and bring delicious meals to the table. We're excited to welcome you, and we hope you'll be on board. Come and join us. Hi, I'm Ellen Shimberg. Welcome to What's in the Pantry, Disability Pride Pennsylvania's new cooking program featuring local chefs and cooks who identify as having a disability. I am thrilled to be able to introduce to you today Christine Brunson, founder and executive director of the Purple House Project. Christine has a diagnosis of macular degeneration, and despite that, continues to cook for her family and her friends with tremendous passion. We're thrilled today to cook her own original recipe of fish stew. I'd like to introduce Christine.
Hi, Ellen. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm super excited to share my recipe and my story with you.
Can you tell me a little bit about the recipe that we're about to prepare for today?
Yes, I call this fish stew. It literally happened because I came home from work and I was like, wow, I don't have any protein defrosted. What's a quick protein? Fish is a super quick protein to defrost. And I was like, I got some rice. And then I was looking at which vegetables I have in my home because I always try to have a meat, a vegetable, and a starch. And I had spinach. And so I literally just put it all in one pot. And so I gave it to my cousin the next day for her to try. She's like, you need to put this on rotation. So I started making fish stew.
And here it is. Can you tell us a little bit about your diagnosis and what it means and how it impacts your cooking? And can I do any prep to help you get started while we're talking?
Yeah, so a little bit about my diagnosis. I live with macular degeneration, and I was diagnosed when I was 11 years old. And so basically what most people can see at like 20 feet, I need to be at about 5 feet. And when it comes to things in the kitchen, I need to look a little closer to small print on like seasonings and on boxes to see like the different ingredients and also like temperature. Like if I have to bake something and it says on the box the instructions on like put it on 375 or what ingredients, I often need to look closer, ask for support. Or lately I just became an iPhone. I downloaded this app. Can I show it to you?
I would love to see it.
Using it. So it's called like Seeing AI, and how it works is I'll just show you. So
consider this blend an homage to the mojo sauce discovered in Cuban restaurants around the United States.
And so
Use
it'll
this like
just
Trader Joe's.
and so I've been using this lately to like read the back of boxes and seasonings and things like that.
So it talks to you, it reads to you what's on the side of the jar. And is that a free app you downloaded?
It's a free app, yep, Seeing AI, yep.
And do you use any other technology in the kitchen to help navigate recipes, cooking, the stove?
Before this phone, I used to take pictures, and if I was home by myself, I would send it to my mom or my son. I'm like, what does this say? Or I would like zoom in. And then I also have a handheld Ruby magnifier that I use sometimes too. But now that I got this phone, I've just been using that app because it's just been easy. Everything, you know, on one space. And it just reads it out loud to you, which is super cool.
Before we move, is there anything you would want manufacturers to know that would help for people like you and me with also who wears glasses in terms of packaging and package design while we're in the kitchen? The print seems to be getting a lot smaller.
So much smaller. You know what they should do? They should put QR codes. Like in addition to the ingredients, they should just put QR codes so people could, you know, scan the QR codes and then it could just pop up on their phone and they could make it as big as possible.
Fantastic. Should we get cooking?
Yeah, let's get cooking. So I love this chopper. This chopper was a gift to me 5 years ago and has essentially been a game changer when it comes to cooking because I like to cut like onions and celery and green peppers. And despite my disability, like for things to be like look a certain way, you know what I mean? Like I want my onions to all be uniform, and I get super overwhelmed at times cutting onions, between the eyes, running and making sure it's small enough. So this chopper, I love, take it everywhere I go to chop the onions. So I'm so excited to show you how I do that.
I can't wait. Tell me a little bit about the work that you do as founder and executive director of the Purple House Project.
All right, so and I do a lot of filling too. So like as you see, I'm like filling the knife to make sure I'm on the right side. But about the work that I do at Purple House Project PA, we support women impacted by intimate partner violence. Our mission is to strengthen, empower, and transition through connection to essential resources that aid in the healing process. So we provide case management services, we provide relocation support, we provide connection to resources. We also provide like financial literacy, education. We do a little bit of everything. We also provide personal care items to folks as well. And then we do a lot of community events as well.
Do you find that the intersectionality of disability and domestic violence is high with regard versus folks who don't identify as having a disability?
Well, absolutely. And oftentimes, it manifests in different ways too, right? Because, oftentimes folks who live with disabilities, they need certain accommodations.
Right.
And their caretakers and their loved ones know that. And so sometimes their abusers use that as a form of like manipulation, power, and control in order to, continue to keep people unsafe. And so we've been seeing like an uptick, in disability and domestic violence and its manifestations as well. So much so that the shirt that I have on today, we have an annual awareness walk/resource fair called My Purple Path. And last year we focused on the intersection of intimate partner violence and disability. And the reason being is because 2 years ago I met a woman who actually lost her vision due to domestic violence. And hearing her story and hearing what it was like accessing resources and how difficult it was because they weren't accessible really, impacted me. Number one, because I'm passionate about domestic violence. And number two, because I live with a disability. And so anytime I get to, talk about the intersection or show support, we try to. So yeah, this is my chopper. See how cool look how
It's beautiful.
And I ain't gotta rub my eyes running, you know what I mean? Because when you chop the onions, do your eyes
Yeah,
run when you
all
chop
the time.
Yeah.
Do you cook every night?
I try to cook at least 3 times a night. 3 times a week. Because I'm a mom. I work full time too, run a business. And so I try to make enough that it'll last me a couple days. I love one pot meals. And so this is one of my favorite one pot meals to prepare. So now what I'm gonna do is start to caramelize the onions. So I'm gonna pour some olive oil in the pot.
Do you do this by feel and not by measurement?
Correct.
Yeah, me too. I know. To me, a recipe's a guideline.
Exactly.
You can sort of adapt and change. Gives you an overview of what's in your what the flavor profile is, but what it tastes like really becomes more up to you. What do you need next?
I'm just gonna put these
Caramelize
onions
the
in as soon as we let this cook for just a hot second. I like cooking with olive oil or avocado oil. Do you use avocado oil?
I do not. Can you taste the difference?
No, but I just heard that avocado oil is just a little healthier. I don't know if you can really taste the difference or not.
What I love about this recipe and the whole point of doing what's in the pantry is this is stuff that almost all of us have in our pantries at any given time. There's nothing special or weird ingredients or atypical. I find sometimes when I look at a recipe and it sounds really great, and I think, I'm gonna have this spice and I will never use it again.
Exactly. Like I keep on seeing recipes that call for like Worcestershire sauce, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what else do I use it for besides this one recipe? No, I agree.
I bought Persian limes. Would you ask me how many times I've used them?
What did you use?
Zero.
What did you use that
I
for?
found the recipe, couldn't find the recipe again, bought the Persian limes. Now they are just taking up space.
Oh my, that's how it is. That's how it is. So I like to do recipes. This seasoning that I'm gonna use, this juicy garlic. I use it with everything. I put it on my vegetables, I put it on my meats, and it's really good. It's one of my favorite seasonings. I got it from Trader Joe's.
So now when you go shopping and you pick up a jar of spices or something, you now can use that Apple AI to read the ingredients to see if it's. Prior to that, if you were to go shop in Trader Joe's on your own, would you have to take a picture of it, enlarge the picture, and then check to see the ingredients?
Yes, and or ask the representatives
Right.
at Trader Joe's like, hey, can you help me find this? With this one, I like because I'm like, okay, I'm looking for the seasoning with the blue top.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it like sticks out
you've
to me
taught
too.
yourself-
I've taught myself like, okay, blue top seasoning I like, and then they have this green goddess seasoning that I
Right.
like. I'm like, okay, that's the white top with the green, with the green label. So,
Have
yeah.
you set up your kitchen spice up in your kitchen so that you don't necessarily need to read it, because you've set it up a certain way? Like if on the left-hand side it's basil, oregano, do you have a system?
Not that cool yet, but but I do have like all my major ones on the bottom shelf, like, you know what I mean? Because I often use like the same 4 seasonings: the
Right.
adobo, the citrusy garlic. I love red hot pepper seeds too,
Right.
and so they're often at the bottom of my on the bottom shelf.
Are there things that be due to your vision you don't cook at all?
I I rarely I rarely bake because I feel like baking is very intricate, and you know how like with cooking we can kind of like
Cooking, you can
feel through
yeah,
it. Where
yeah.
baking, like if those ingredients not like the measurements aren't exact,
Right.
it'll make or break. Like I remember one time I was like trying to bake oatmeal raisin cookies, and I think I used too much of either baking soda or baking powder, and they were super poofy. And so I feel like I like cooking more because you can kind of like
A little bit
freestyle
of
it.
wiggle room.
Yeah.
And do you make up a lot of your recipes, or are you a cookbook person?
I make up a lot, and I love to travel, and I like to try new foods. And so oftentimes when I'm traveling or I'm trying new restaurants and I have something, like I try something that I like, I'll try to redo it at home.
So people always ask that when sort of one of your senses has been impaired, that other senses kick in. So I'm wondering if, especially as a cook, if maybe your sense of smell is stronger.
Absolutely. Smell and hearing too. Like I like listen. Like I'm here, I'm like, okay, these onions are ready for me to add the water now because of
I was going to
you know
ask.
what I mean? Or
right.
the water I can tell at the boiling point, you know what I mean?
Just
Kind
pour
of
it
thing.
in?
Yes, please.
Right, now, because one of my questions is, with me, I look, does it look like the chicken breast is caramelized enough? And I would imagine then that you then have to rely on other things like the
Smell.
sense of smell, or does
Yeah.
it sound like it's at the finishing point?
And I'm also a texture person too. So I'll feel it too. You know what I mean? Like with the fork or depending on what I'm making with my hand or you know what I mean? Just like feeling that, okay, is this the texture that I want to use as well? Let me put a little more.
Do you travel? When you travel, do you go into, are you a supermarket person? I'm going into another city or town. I want to see what's in their local market compared to what we have here.
Yes, and I love looking at different places like spices. That's like my favorite thing to look at. It's like the different spices that other communities use. But when it comes to like going to grocery shopping, I like to go to my market because like I I know where everything is. You know what I
I was
mean?
going
Like
to ask if that's one of the. So
it
when the market remodels,
it stresses me out. Oh my God, it stresses me
it
out.
stresses me out too, and I don't have a visual impairment, so that's interesting. So let's talk again a little bit about Purple House Project. Does cooking is cooking like a therapy for you?
Cooking is definitely therapeutic for me growing up. My mom and my grandmother were like big hosts in our family. They would always like cooking would just bring the family together. And so anytime I'm working with a client, like there's always food involved most of the time. Like whenever we do community events, I make sure that there is a good meal that's either when I first started Purple House Project and we didn't have any funding, for my birthday. My birthday's in the month of August, and every year we would go to the women's shelter, mother's home, and I would cook a meal for the ladies in the shelter. So I would have my friends come and I would fry the fish, and my one friend would bring her cabbage, and we would just make a meal for the ladies together, and then we would serve the ladies. And it was always a good talking point, and the ladies always appreciated like such a good home cooked meal because a lot of times in the shelter they're not able to have like home cooked meals, and so oftentimes whenever we do an event, food is always involved, and it's always like good food. Like we went a couple of months ago and we did like a taco bar, and although I'm the executive director and the founder, I still love being the one that's in the kitchen preparing the meal
Right.
for the ladies. Now, sometimes we've been getting things catered, but my favorite has been being able to cook for the ladies that we serve.
Tell me a little bit about how you got Purple House Project started, what your goals are.
Yeah. So started Purple House Project back in 2016. I tell everybody we started with a bowling party. So I knew growing up that I wanted to start an organization that supported people who were impacted by intimate partner violence because while I was in college, I had to do what's called a genogram. You
Mm-hmm.
familiar with a
Yes.
genogram? And in the genogram, you look at things that have been happening in your family, whether it's addiction, whether it's abuse. And I noticed that in my family, there was a lot of domestic violence that had happened throughout my family. And I felt like the women in my family didn't get the services they needed. I felt like growing up, and once I started working, people gave like, okay, here's a food voucher here, here's a bus pass here, but really didn't empower women who were impacted by intimate partner violence and provide them with the resources they needed. And so I wanted to be an organization that helped fill in the gaps for the folks because I saw how detrimental it was for my family who didn't get the support they needed, and how it continued. So wanted to be a resource, but not just a resource that just handed out things, a resource that like empowered folks. So started the organization 7 years ago with my cousin and a couple of friends. We had a fundraiser to raise money to get our, 501c3, our, tax status. And then after that, we would just reach out to local women's shelters and see what the needs were. So in the beginning, we did like a diaper and underwear drive, and I would just collectively with my community ask for folks to donate like diapers and underwears, and we would go to the shelter, not only give them a product, but also give them a service, whether it was like a women's empowerment. Like one time we did an event where we gave all the ladies mirrors and we did things about like affirmations, or we'll do like advocacy work. Um, and so it really started that way, really just going, seeing, because I'm all about not reinventing the wheel. I'm all about like, okay, like
Filling in a gap.
filling in a gap.
Right.
Exactly. Um, so that's kind of how we started. As you can see, it's about to boil. I hear the little bubbles, the big bubbles are coming. um, So yeah, that's how Purple House Project started, and now we're in our 7th year, and it's really humbling. Like I remember looking, I love social media because I remember one of our first things was to fill up 6 pocketbooks. That was just a goal. Can I have the rice, please? The goal was just to fill up 6 pocketbooks, and now this year alone, we've served over 69 women and provided personal care items to them and delivered it to them too, all across the city. Um, Before, the goal was just to give a women's shelter that had 19 women diapers, and now we've been able to give over 69 people, diapers and wipes and things like that. And so, yeah.
Coming back to the cooking piece of this, I'm assuming you have a well-stocked pantry. What are some of the key things you think folks should have in their pantry at all times so that you can throw something together at the last minute?
Oh my gosh. So rice is definitely a staple. Sometimes I've been trying to do brown rice. I do brown rice, but you gotta doctor it up for sure. You have to doctor up brown rice. Pastas are always good. And then in my refrigerator, I often always either have spinach or Brussels sprouts. I love having spinach in my in my refrigerator because I put spinach in everything. Like for breakfast, I like put it in my eggs. I mean, a little gourmet. Have you ever put spinach in your eggs?
Spinach, feta, and tomato is my favorite.
Delicious, right?
It is delicious.
And you feel like you're getting your vegetable intake.
Right.
So I love having spinach, love having Brussels sprouts, onions. You need onions all the time. Garlic is also something that I often always have in my pantry as well.
What I like about all these are not only pantry staples, but they're not weird pantry staples. They're not really expensive pantry staples. They're things you can sort of have all the time. And you're right, if you just have like one additional protein, you've got a whole meal from.
Absolutely.
Do you have a preference in terms of if you were with vegetables? I know fresh is sort of the preference, but if you were to go after that?
Frozen.
Frozen.
I love frozen. I love those steamable bags of frozen vegetables too. They have really cool medleys. Like sometimes I buy the Asian stir fry one, and that's cool. Like once again, I love having seafood in my freezer, like fish or shrimp, because after a long day at work, if I forgot to take food out, I'm able to defrost it pretty quickly.
Right.
And so I like the Asian stir fry one because I could just defrost some fish or defrost some shrimp, add the steamable vegetable and some rice, and then you got a meal.
The one pot meals are great for us working moms who have like put in a full day. We need to come home and dinner needs to be on the table.
Absolutely.
So I really love the fact that these are pantry staples we have on hand, and it gets dinner on the table quickly, and there's nothing sort of in here that kids, fussy eaters won't like either.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite thing to cook?
My favorite thing to cook is a one pot meal. Like I love baking chicken, putting the rice, like after you bake the chicken, put the rice and then the spinach. That's one of my favorite things to make. And then with my family, if I have to like cook for somebody's event, everybody loves when I fry fish. Those are the things that people. But I don't like to cook fried fish all the time because it's so much work. You gotta stand up over the stove. I like those meals that you can literally
put everything together and put it.
Set it and forget it. You know what I mean? Like,
how are you about folks coming in and working in the kitchen with you? I get a little territorial.
I'm all about it.
You're come on in and jump in.
Come on, jump in. My son, he loves cooking with me. I have a 9-year-old son. He's even got an apron. So I'm all about it. Like luckily I have like a pretty big kitchen, but I feel like if my kitchen was smaller, I'd be like, oh my God, you go over here. But no, I love people coming in the kitchen with me because then they add their flair too. I have friends from all different cultures. And so I love hearing that they say like, oh, in my culture, we cook with this and we cook with that. And so I enjoy that too. I put a little Old Bay in it for like the seafood part of it, just a little bit.
What advice would you have for folks who are visually impaired who may be reluctant to get behind the stove?
I would say just do it. I remember one of my really good friends, I talked about her earlier. She told me the different ways that she cooks, and I was just in amaze. She was talking to me about like the bump dots that she uses and things like that. I would say definitely make sure your house is like accessible for you. Kind of figure out what you need for your house in order to be accessible. If you're visually impaired or if you're hearing impaired or whatever the case may be, making sure you have the technology you need. Technology is great, like between like the apps that they have on the phone, the different lightings, the for adaptive equipment that you're able to use. I think it's a great opportunity for most folks. Start off, don't be frying, no, because I feel like don't start off with frying because that grease for people who are sighted and not disabled is a little tricky. So I would say like one pot meals like this are easy to do. Putting stuff in the oven is super easy to do. Low risk. So yeah. Our border started, it went down. You see, it's kind of like a stewy vibe. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the fish. And fish doesn't take long to cook at all. Don't cook. Fish is like awesome. Fish and seafood is awesome because they don't take long to defrost. They don't take long to cook. And I just put it in and then it like breaks up. Let me make sure I don't have any.
Nope, it doesn't. Sometimes, it sits on that
Paper, yep.
the padded thing, yep.
So I just put it in and then it'll just like break up. So I'm actually gonna put the lid on and just let the fish cook for a little bit. Probably like 5 minutes, let the steam cook the fish. And then once that begins to cook, the fish like breaks up really easy. And then I add the spinach for like 2 minutes and then we're done. All right, let's see how we're doing with this fish. So I'm just waiting until it's like soft enough to break up because it kind of like breaks up on its own.
And you said you made this was sort of, you put this together yourself and it's so good it's now part of your routine?
It's one part of my routine. It's like my cousin, she requested. Like she's like, I got a taste for fish stew this week.
So I read the other day that cilantro, that folks who don't like it, it's actually a chromosomal difference. And they went back and the early humans did not eat cilantro. Whatever that chromosome is, they didn't have it. And those of us, so the people who think it tastes like soap, and those of us who
Wait, people think it tastes like soap?
it is genetic. There is something in their chromosome makeup that makes cilantro taste like soap.
Really?
Really?
Ooh,
Yep.
Excuse me. It's so good to me. Do you like it?
I love it.
Can I have a little more water, please?
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit.
You said your mom does your plating?
Yes, my mom does my plating. Because, in my head, I'm a pretend chef. And so I'm like, Mom, but my mom is a great photographer. And so I'm like, Mom, get my plate together, please. Because one day I'm going to get discovered and they're going to see my plate.
And you're
I'm just
self-taught,
smelling
right?
it.
You didn't go to culinary school.
I didn't go to culinary school.
Did you ever think about culinary school?
No, just a girl who likes to eat and eat to feed her family. This spinach cooks down so quickly. See how quickly it cooks down?
That is beautiful. It smells really, really, really good.
All right, we are just about done. You want to see it?
I do. I actually want to stir because I'd like to get an idea of what the consistent. It is. It's the consistency of a stew. It's really.
You know what I mean? Like you just gotta fill it because before it was too
Yeah.
much water, so
Yep,
it's kind
I
of
can
loose.
see the difference
You
in
see the
here too.
difference, yeah.
The spinach did cook down really. It smells terrific. It did cook down.
We could put a little more in.
A little more spinach?
Yeah. Thank you. Just because we're trying to get our vegetable intake in.
There you go.
I'll just put it all in. You can never have too much greens, right?
It's good for you.
It's just that's like the good thing and the frustrating thing about spinach, though, is that it cooks down so much.
With the macular degeneration, will your vision alter and change as you get older?
They say it's a possibility. You know, the interesting thing about macular degeneration is that it's often found in seniors. I was diagnosed when I was
Right,
11
yeah.
years old. And so it's funny because I love being around seniors. I was like, probably because I got the same eyes as them. So there is a possibility of it digressing. As of right now, it hasn't. But there definitely is a possibility. So we're all done with the cooking. All right. All right.
Well, this looks great. I am super excited.
Moment of truth.
We ready?
Yes.
Oh, no, just kidding.
What?
Wow. I have to tell you, it really is delicious.
Thank you.
No, it's really good.
The rice is perfect, right?
Everything's perfect.
I'm not trying to toot my own horn because you know rice can be tricky. Like
No, it came out. It is perfect. It's yummy. The flavor is fantastic. And we did pick the hottest day of the year so far to cook a hot meal, and I have to tell you, it's excellent.
it's light too, right? So you don't get like sleepy after you eat it.
Got a lot of flavor.
Mm.
Because you sort of make this up as on the go, I'm assuming it tastes just a little bit different every time.
For the most part, the same time because I always use the same like citrusy garlic, a
Right.
little bit of Old Bay, the onions. So it's pretty similar.
So we used cod today, even though you normally said whiting. Can you taste the difference? in
Not
the fish?
really. You can't really. I like this cod better because I feel like it's even more like the seafood.
It's very seafood. Yes.
Yeah.
Christine, I have to tell you that spending the morning cooking with you has been a pleasure. Normally on Fridays, I'm not the eagerest person to come in, and I was really, really, really excited to do this with you. Learning how you navigate in the kitchen is really interesting. I know anybody watching is also going to feel the same way, and I love sharing food and recipes. I think you and I agree that sort of breaking bread is the best way to bring folks together. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Christine Brunson. If you're interested in information about the Purple House Project, please go to
purplehouseprojectpa.org, as well as our Instagram and Facebook, Purple House Project PA. Thank you so much, Disability Pride, for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.